So, as you all know, unless you've been living under a very large rock for the last 3 months, as of May 2nd, the de minimis exception in the United States from China has ended. Almost all figure distributors have stopped shipping surface mail, and Good Smile US has kind of been screwing over the US customers. So, what does that mean for United States figure collectors? Well, I'd say things are going to start getting very expensive, at least as far as importing things goes. And what does that mean for me? Well, I'd say I got pretty lucky that AmiAmi decided to upgrade all surface mail, and I got almost $1,000 worth of figures just 4 days before all of this went into effect. In my last video, I mentioned that I had received an email from AmiAmi stating that all surface mail had been upgraded to EMS. So literally the day after I uploaded that video, both packages that I've been waiting on from AmiAmi showed up. It's crazy how that works. Between both of these boxes, we have 10, yes 10, 8 of which are scale figures to open, totaling in at just under $1,000. Yes, that is a lot. I don't intend on opening all of them in one video because that would just wind up being like well over an hour long, and I need to stretch these out as long as I can. But I'll wind up explaining how I wound up with such a huge box that I originally didn't even order later on in the video, but for now, let's get it cracking. So first up we have the Horror Bishoujo Sadako by Kotobukiya. This is actually my first Horror Bishoujo figure because I'm really not too big of a fan of a lot of movies that they're based off of, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, Child's Play, stuff like that. But I am a pretty big fan of The Ring. It's actually one of the first movies that scared the crap out of me as a child, so I decided to pick this up. Upon first look, they really nailed the whole creepy aesthetic to it with the pictures of Sadako peeking through her hair all over the sides. The entire box being covered in that blue, green, gray film grain to it. I really like the little anime version of Sadako on the side here. They definitely nailed that whole blend between beautiful and unsettling, which I guess lives up to the Horror Bishoujo name. So let's go ahead and get her out of the box. Kotobukiya figures are normally a fairly simple setup. I have 2 other ones, and so far the setup has usually just been, take them out, set them on the base, and you're done. This one is more or less the same as that, except for the fact that we have our nice little real magnet tape that comes out of the bottom here. The base is 3 layers, top, middle, bottom. They're all held together with magnets inside. They all attach to one another, and they all have arrows that line up with one another to indicate their orientation. So you pull all 3 layers apart, pull a little bit of the magnet tape out. Bam. Pull a little more. We're going for setup, not aesthetic at the moment. I'll fix it later, don't worry. And then the top piece doesn't have any alignment pegs, but you can see the magnets in there. You can see where the magnets go. Put 2 and 2 together. Bam. Sadako attaches by a little metal peg on the bottom of her dress right there. She has a slight angle that she can rotate, so you can kind of, pick exactly how you want her to be facing. But other than that, the setup is more or less done. We have our nice little VHS tape themed carrying case, complete with spare faceplate, 2 extra rolls of magnet VHS tape, as well as the sticky sheets to pull the extra faceplate off. Apparently, to change the faceplate on this, you have a piece of tape that you have to peel the part of her face off with and stick the new one in. So we'll go ahead and try that. I'm always down for companies trying new things, easier ways to do things, but sometimes I feel like if something ain't broke, maybe don't fix it. All right, let's see. What? Well, that is strong. Oh my god. I'm just kind of press it in. And bam, there we go. I feel with the little sticky piece that honestly was kind of a lot easier to swap out, but I'm not sure how I feel about that as a longevity type thing. It says on the instructions if it loses its stickiness, a little bit of water. I'm sure you can just use something else, but this is probably specially made to not pull any of the paint off or anything. This is a lot stronger than I thought it would be. Overall, this figure is quite impressive, and it's no surprise that Kotobukiya maintains the reputation that they do. A lot of the small details on this figure, such as the tapes You can see where they sculpted the gears in the things in the back. All the windows on the front are slightly transparent, allowing you to see the rolls inside of the pile of tapes that she's sitting on. The sculpting and shading on her gown is very nice. It really gives off that whole dirty, wet aesthetic look. The wrinkles really make it look like it's just kind of folded and clinging onto her body. The frayed edges on the bottom of her shirt are a nice touch, and I like how the shirt itself is lighter where it's not covering her, allowing the light to pass through it. The hair sculpt is very nice as well. All the strands are individually sculpted. There's not too much shading to the hair because, I know she's supposed to be a ghost with just the long matte black hair. It's got a little bit of a transparent effect towards the bottom of the hair there, which is pretty cool. And from the front, you really can't see the seam line. From the back angle right here and from the top, the seam line is pretty noticeable. It is on a spot on the figure where it would be less noticeable. It's, right there with her hair part, but still, it's not exactly the most subtle thing in the world. I really like how all the VHS tape inside the base is real. Obviously, nothing's gonna look any more real than the real thing. I don't know how they would have been able to recreate that without using real VHS tape, so I'm kind of glad that they did that. It's definitely a cool idea. This figure was just under 20,000 yen, and I would say it was worth every penny of it. I'm definitely pretty happy with picking this one up as my first horror Bishoujo figure, and I'm really looking forward to the Megan one that they're supposed to be coming out with soon. It was such a campy, stupid B horror movie, and I just absolutely loved it. So 2 AmiAmi boxes means 2 AmiAmi postcards. So first we have our February AmiAmi postcard, which as we can see is Amiko standing under the wisteria trees. Very nice. For our March postcard, we also have Amiko standing under the wisteria trees. Now, upon first glance, this may seem as though it's the same postcard, but if you look very closely, you will notice that it is the exact same postcard. It's whatever. I just want to complain. Next up, we have the Nejire Hado by Spiritale. This is actually the figure that I was telling you guys about in the last video, and I said I would let you know what happened with the whole shipping situation when it arrived. So I am pleased to announce that all they did was slap an EMS label on top of it and just send it the rest of the way. Nothing special, nothing required on my part, just got the figure. I think they did a good job theming this box to the character. I love how it's her primary colors of blue and yellow, the stripes and stars on the side, the bubbly twist text on the side. Ooh. So this entire figure, as I'm sure you've guessed by now, is held up by just this rod, but the entire weight of the figure is held up by her ankle. That's where the hole is. That is where this massive hair sculpt is going to put all of its weight, is on this ankle. Bro, there ain't no way. Alright, there we go. Moving on to the figure itself, the setup is fairly simple. As you can see, the only assembly required is placing her on that metal rod there, which is not the most confidence-inspiring thing in the world. Nejire herself is quite large and heavy, and her hair sculpt puts a lot of weight on one side, so I'm pretty anxious to see how that rod holds up over time. That being said, I feel like they did a pretty good job hiding it, or at least distracting you from it with all the smoke swirls and puffs coming around her on the bottom there. The sculpting and paint job on this figure is just incredible, in my opinion. Literally every single detail is sculpted on this thing, down to the seam lines in her gloves. You can literally feel the seams in them. Every single detail on this thing is shaded all the way down to all the folds on her uniform and even in the individual creases in between her hair. This thing literally looks like they just took a screenshot straight out of the anime. The most impressive parts to me on this thing is the mouth sculpt on it. Normally mouth sculpts on figures are just a flat piece with paint applied over the top or just a hole, but every single piece in her mouth is individually sculpted. Her tongue, her teeth, everything. And I know it's a little bit of a weird detail, but it's still impressive nonetheless. The hair sculpt on this thing flows so nicely, and the way that they balance the transition between the dark lavender of her normal hair to the transparent purple at the tips is just perfect. I really like the color palette that they chose for this figure. It's very vaporwave, very 90s aesthetic, and I'm just absolutely living for it. They also did a really nice job with the paint of her uniform. Really nailed that whole semi-gloss neoprene superhero outfit. And the body sculpt on this thing is great as well. I mean, look at them legs. Comes with two faceplates, her cheerful smiling face as well as her upset attacking face. She also comes with two right arms, one of her making the peace sign as well as another one with her hand open, energy blast encircling it. She's quite large for a 1/7 scale, mostly due to the size of her base and her hair sculpt. I would say she takes up the same amount of shelf space as a 1/6 or maybe even a small 1/5 scale. Either way, this figure was just under 25,000 yen, and I would say it was another hit. Spiritale pretty much always knocks it out of the park. Alright, so next up, we have a Pop-Up Parade L of Nagito, or Servant, from Danganronpa Ultra Despair Girls. This one actually arrived yesterday, and since I'm in a Danganronpa kind of mood from watching everybody play 100 Line, I figured we'd open it today. I actually haven't got a chance to play 100 Line yet, but if any of you guys have, let me know how it is. No spoilers, please. So the cool thing about the Pop-Up Parade L sizes is they tend to be, significantly nicer than the regular Pop-Up Parades for not that much more money. The only other Pop-Up Parade L size that I have is the Ryuko Matoi that came out last year, which, as far as I know, is actually one of the best Pop-Up Parade Ls that came out. I know everybody was raving about how high quality that thing was. For only about, I think it was $55, it was nearly scale figure quality. Alright, and there we go. Setup on these things is always super simple, as with any pop-up parade. You literally just pop them into the base. So at first glance, this thing is pretty high quality considering it's just a pop-up L. The sculpting is pretty nice. All the wrinkles in his jacket are defined, his shoelaces, the seams on his shoes. No super visible seam lines except for the one right here where the front and the back half of the hair connect, which I feel like every single anime figure ever made has a seam line right there. Nice subtle gradation from the tan to the pink in his hair, but a fair amount of detail considering that this was only, I think, $55, $60. I'll have to double check. But for a Pop-Up Parade L, I'd say it's, pretty standard procedure. Slightly nicer than a regular Pop-Up Parade, but not quite as nice as a scale figure. Pretty happy. So our last figure today is going to be everybody's favorite, a lewd figure. I hope you guys like cowgirls, because that's going to be a thing on this channel, so get ready. Here we have the 1/6 scale figure of Ushimitsu Toki, manufactured by Nocturne, illustrated by Salamigami, which is just the stupidest fucking name ever, and I absolutely love it. I hope she has clothes on. Holy shit. I will do my best to not show anything on camera. This entire section might wind up getting cut out. So I don't know how well you can see it. My other camera died while I was trying to show this. Those of you that have never had to do this before, you actually have to insert this little tab here on the side of the bikini bottom into the side of the tie. And the same deal goes for the top on the other side as well. Obviously I'm holding everything onto her right now, so I can't do this on camera. Alright, so with her all set up, she is very impressive. Her swimsuit is an absolute bitch. If you've never had the misfortune of putting clothes on a cast-off figure, it's definitely a challenge. It will try your patience. The hair sculpt is okay. There's a couple spots where there's some paint chunks in between, and honestly, she has quite a few little nicks and paint transfers all over her. There's a nice little blob of paint in her hair here. There's a couple nicks in her hair, and she actually has paint transfer on the inside of her thigh from her bikini rubbing on it during shipping. It's purple, so that's very obvious what it's from. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with the figure. The paint job on her hair is okay. The sculpt is nice. I like in the front where she has it tied up, the way it bunches and lays. It makes it look like it actually has weight and movement to it. Her horns are very nice as well, having a slight wave to them to make them look even more natural. Her eye decals and blush on her face are very nice, really selling that whole sultry yet innocent look, accompanied by the suspiciously dripping popsicle. The popsicle drips do not come painted onto her. They are actually liquid sealed that you have to apply yourself with tweezers so that you can customize it to your liking, which is just diabolical. The paint job on her swimsuit and sandals look excellent, with all the creases being shaded as well as the ties on the bottom. Even the bottom of her sandals are shaded. This is actually my third Nocturne figure, and they always do an excellent job with the body sculpts, which I would hope so considering they're a lewd figure company, but you know. I know she's not exactly what I would call thick in the artwork, but she's a little less so in the final product, which is disappointing, but I'll live. As I said before, this is a cast-off figure, meaning she does not come with alternate top and bottom pieces should you want to change it out, and because of that, it looks a little unnatural when she doesn't have her bikini on. They literally look like they're just floating there in midair. She does not suffer the curse of the line down there. Everything is fully sculpted and painted, you know, in case you were wondering, for a friend. The bench that she's sitting on has a nice little wood grain and gradient effect to it, and even the cooler has a surprising amount of detail in it. The little sandy area that she's sitting in has a rough texture to it, and even has a spot cleared out where her feet have been shuffling around in the sand, really selling the whole day at the beach look. It's just the right size in my opinion. I really like a lot of the details on her accessories, such as her armbands and her collar, her bell having a nice little inscription on it. This one was the most expensive of the four, coming in at just under 30,000 yen, but I'd say it was well worth the price. So you guys are probably wondering why I had such a large March box with so many seemingly random figures in it, and the answer for that is quite simple. I didn't even have a March box originally. Like, seriously, every single figure except for this one was either delayed or pushed forward from another box or something else. Like, seriously, like Nejire I think was supposed to come out in April and got moved to March. Sadako was supposed to be like January or something like that and wound up getting pushed forwards, and then these Asanagi bunnies right here have been delayed for like almost a year at this point. So now for the rest of the figures. Obviously we're not going to get to them in today's box because this video is probably already at the 20 to 30 minute mark at this point, and I still have to edit it. I'd like to do something else besides unboxing videos, but honestly I can't stand to have the boxes sitting there. I actually still haven't fixed the horn from the one that I broke in the first video, so maybe we'll do a little how to repair a broken anime figure segment on the next one. That's about it for today, guys. I would say our winning figure for the day is probably Nejire, despite how wobbly she is, because the paint job and sculpt on this thing is just killer. We still have 5 scale figures and an Android to get through, and I don't want to blow through my entire backlog in one sitting considering recent price increases, so you guys will just have to stay tuned for the next video, and I'll see you guys next time. Later!